Okay, so this video might be of interest to those of you who are thinking of swapping from a plastic dashboard as fitted in your early to mid Spitfire Mark IV to a wooden dashboard, as we can see here. So while it is possible to swap from the original plastic dashboard to a wood dash, there are some things that you have to keep in mind. There are a few bits that you will need to pick up to make transition from plastic to wood. So in this video I'll highlight some of those issues and hopefully make the decision process easier for you. So first, I probably should say that the plastic dashboards, they're not particularly desirable. It's always nice, of course, to see a plastic dashboard still fitted to a Triumph Spitfire 4. I believe it was an attempt by Triumph with the new design of the Triumph Spitfire Mark IV to try and modernise the car to get away from the traditional wood look and come up with something a bit more contemporary, possibly something a bit cheaper, and so they came up with this fake leather effect. Cast plastic panels. So like I said, they're not particularly desirable. They're possibly getting rarer as a lot of people are swapping them out for wooden dashboards. So I'd recommend that if you are swapping out your plastic dash and it is in a good original condition, unlike this one which has some holes and bits and pieces drilled through it over the years, to perhaps wrap it up, put it away. You never know, in the years to come these things might be rare, they might be sought after, and if you have a good original set put away somewhere, you could be onto a winner. Or if you ever want to revert back to original, you still have the plastic. Okay, so let's take a look at the dashboard panels then. Okay, so we might start with the center panel then, because this contains probably the biggest item that you're going to need to source to fit a wood dashboard in place of the plastic dash. So if we take a look at the original dash panel, you'll notice that the heater insert here is actually cast as part of the dash panel. So it's all cast as one piece. This section here isn't separate. And if we compare that to the wood dashboard, you can see that obviously we don't have this part. So what you'll need to source is one of these guys. So this is the heater insert. So this essentially replaces this section here, but it's a separate component. Now unfortunately you won't get these newly made, they're not available new, so you will have to source one of these from a second-hand dashboard. They are out there, they can be got, so if you know somebody who perhaps is breaking a Spitfire, has an old wooden dashboard, a dash that's beyond repair, you'll probably find one of these still attached to it. This fits onto the rear of the timber dash. There's two screw holes here and here, so that fits onto the rear. Now, I have seen one customer get creative with this panel and actually cut this out himself and grafted it into the wood panel, and it's worked for him. So I'm not saying it's not impossible to remove that, but the timber dashes are designed for this separate heater insert, so it's recommended that you source one of these. Now, if your plastic dash is original and has the original clear hooter light switch in place, you're going to need to source one of these Lucas light switches. Now, you can tell the clear hooter from the Lucas switch, as the Lucas has this bezel or this little frame around the light switch. The original clear hooter switch would have just fitted into the dash panel itself. The dash panel was made to accommodate the clear hooter switch. Now, I believe over time the clear hooter switches were recalled due to issues of them actually going up in smoke. So they're quite rare to still have them in the car. If they haven't been recalled, they've been replaced by previous owners who may have broke or stopped working, so it was easier and cheaper just to pick up a replacement Lucas switch. So if you have a look at the back of the switch here, you can see this one has been widened out for the Lucas switch. So these are simply a push-in unit, like so. when I'm making the timber dashboards, I machine for these Lucas switches. So even if you still have the original clear hooter switch in your dashboard, I'd recommend putting that away safely. Those light switches are getting rare, so it'd be no harm to have it put away safely, or perhaps sell it on to somebody who's looking for an original light switch. Unfortunately, I don't machine for those light switches, so I'd recommend picking up one of these Lucas switches. So again, these simply fit in, friction fit into the dash. Okay, so that's the center panel covered. So heater insert, Lucas light switch. You'll find with some of the export cars, particularly to the North American market, that the center panel has two warning lights in place for a hazard and brake. Now these are a similar style to the indicator light, but instead of being green, they're actually red. So you find a red light here and a red light here. If you have them, you'll know what I'm talking about. Now again, these I believe are this type of setup, just a red jewel in an aluminium body. They're prone to breaking, just being worn out and being cloudy. So again, what I'd recommend, like the indicator light, is that I drill two 12mm holes in place. I put the labels hazard and brake in place, and you can get these in red, so these would simply pop in to each one of the holes. Now, if we take a look at the driver's panel, probably the first noticeable difference that you'll see between the two panels is this tab sticking out of the side of the plastic dash. So again, this is cast as part of the dash panel itself. And on the timber dash, we don't have this. So what you'll need to pick up is one of these guys. Actually, you'll need two of these, I'll explain later. So this is a pressed metal bracket. You can see there's a little kink or step in that. So essentially what this does is takes the place of this plastic tab. So via two screws, this will fit into the back of your timber dash panel, like so. So the purpose of this tab is that once it's fitted in place, like so, once the bracket is secured to the rear of the dash panel, what you do when you're fitting your dash panel is you fit the driver's panel first, then the passenger's panel, and then the center panel goes in place. So once the center panel is put in, the screw that passes through the top corner here will actually pass through this bracket also. So when the center panel is secured, that will hold the top corner of the driver's panel in place also. So you're going to need two of these brackets, one for the driver's side panel and one for the passenger side panel. Now, if you're remotely handy and can form up and drill a bit of metal, you could probably make these yourself. But again, like the heater insert, if you know somebody who has an old dashboard, an old wood dash, these can be taken off the wood dash. Now, if we take a look again at the back of the panels, you can see the plastic dash panel has this bit of framework and strengthening added to the dash. The panel incorporates two threaded studs, here and here. So there's a threaded stud here and one down below. Now the one down below isn't actually required on the wood dash, it's the one here that is required. So when I'm manufacturing for the wood dashes to replace the plastic dashes, I actually include the threaded stud. You can see it there. So this replicates this threaded stud here. Now this metal bracket also incorporates the cutout for the wiper controls with a notch cut into it. Now again, if you're remotely handy, you could probably cut out this section, drill two holes and fix it to the back of the timber panel. Or again, if you've sourced a scrap wood panel with the fittings attached to it, you're going to need one of these metal brackets, like so. So I'll have the holes marked out on the back of the panel. That fits in like such. Screw there and a screw there. So that will secure your wiper controls in place. So when you're turning the knob on the face, the controls don't rotate. They're locked in place via this little tab up on top. Now, with the plastic dash panel, the indicator light is this guy here, which is a green push-in jewel, and the rear of it is this aluminium body that screws on to the back of the green light fitting, like so. Now, in most cases, these can be removed. That's not a problem. They simply screw off. In some cases, however, you'll either find over time that the threads on the back of the green jewel have been stripped out. The body has been glued onto the jewel. In some cases, they have actually melted inside the aluminium body, and when you try to screw it off, they'll snap, or sometimes they just snap anyway because they've become so brittle over the years. So unless specified, I don't actually machine for this type of fitting. I can if needs be, but I generally don't. What I recommend is picking up one of these green 1/2 inch or 12mm push-in green warning lights. So these are, you can get these new. They're standard fit, as I say, 12mm 1/2 inch, and I drill a 12mm hole in the panel, and these simply push in, friction fit, and you have a light fitting then that just pops into the back of that. So it's simple. Again, you can get these from a scrap dash, or like I say, you can get them new. So I think that pretty much covers the driver's panel. So wiper fixing bracket. You're going to need one of these metal brackets to secure the driver's panel to the center panel, and your indicator warning light. Okay, so if we take a look again at the driver's side panel, on the North American export cars, in this region of the dash here, there was provision for a hazard switch. So I'll drop a picture of that down below. So that would have been in this region here. So like the center panel light switch, the actual dash panel itself would have been cast to accept the switch. So there would have been a recess in the dash panel with an opening into which the hazard switch itself would have clipped into. So there's two spring clips on either end of the dash panel, and this would have clipped into the plastic dash. Now, when converting to a wood dash panel, in this instance I'm using a template. Unfortunately, I don't have a finished example to hand, so this is a template for a Mark II or GT6 Plus and a GT6 Mark III. But apart from the opening for the air vent, it's essentially the same layout as the Spitfire dash. But we can see here that there is an opening provided for the hazard switch. So in order to fit the switch when converting from plastic to a timber dash, what you'll need to source is one of these brackets here. So these would have come fitted as standard to the GT6 Plus and the GT6 Mark III, as well as the 1972 year of the Triumph TR6. So they are out there, they can be got. Again, if you're remotely handy with forming up a bit of metal, you could probably make one of these yourself if needs be. I can provide measurements, but these essentially will fit into this location here over the two holes that will be marked on the dash panel, and then this clicks in to the bracket from the front, like so. And then last but not least, we have the passenger side panel. Now, unfortunately, I don't have an original plastic passenger side panel to compare, but there's very little that needs talking through with these panels. The original plastic panel would have had 2 threaded studs fitted via a bracket to the back of the panel, so I replicate these threaded studs on the back of my panels also, just to make fitment easy. And again, like the driver's panel, you can see that there's 2 holes marked up in the top corner, and this is again to accommodate one of these pressed metal brackets which fits in there like so. So again, if you find an old wooden dashboard, you'll find these attached to it. Okay, to recap then, it is totally possible to swap from the original plastic dash to a wood dash panel. So quickly then, the bits you'll need are the heater insert, you will need a Lucas light switch, you'll need the 2 metal brackets for the passenger and driver's panel, you'll need a wash wipe securing bracket, and a 12mm warning light, in this case green for the indicator. And then on the North American export cars, you will need the bracket for the hazard switch on the driver's panel, and 2 additional red 12mm or 1/2 inch push-in warning lights for the center panel. So if you're interested in swapping from plastic to wood, like this example here in a beautiful Santos rosewood, do give me a shout and we can discuss your options. Okay, thanks for watching. Any questions, just ask, I'm always happy to help.